we all have needs, we all have many wants. So this is a pyramid which I have just shown for your awareness, and for us to understand that where actually the problem happens, where actually the problem comes, especially studying for students especially, and for all the adults also. Our basic needs, we have basic physiological needs like food, oxygen. See, a person who is lacking oxygen has to be admitted in the hospital. If oxygen, like this current scenario, we are seeing the SpO2 or saturation of oxygen in the COVID scenario. So that is a basic human need. When that is lacking, we can't be talking about buying a house. We can't be talking about self-confidence. We can't be talking about other issues, love and all. Oxygen should be there. So that is a basic human need. So like that in the pyramid, we have some basic human needs like oxygen, water, food, sleep. So these days, what we see in many young adolescent students is sleep is lacking. There's no doubt about it. Sleep is lacking. Late night studying can happen, or what mobile phones. It has become a part and parcel of our life.
Ma'am, we have some questions. The first question is how to deal with the constant feeling of being worthless.
Yes. See, this constant feeling of being worthless, we need to understand whether it is how long the duration is. If the person has feelings of worthlessness, the person also would be having other mood symptoms. We need to recognize other mood symptoms like sadness of mood, if it is there or not. First thing, if most of the time they are feeling very sad and they don't have lack of interest in activities is another thing. Lack of interest in activities is lack of interest in pleasurable activities. It could be eating your favorite food, which earlier you used to relish eating some biryani, but now you don't feel like eating that at all. So that is one thing, lack of interest in pleasurable activities. Third is low energy levels. Okay, the person might be feeling very low, very fatigue, even though physically everything is normal, they don't feel like getting off the bed. And the here in the pyramids, what I have seen in the needs, if you can see, the self-esteem is there. Okay, the self-esteem is the higher need of an individual, self-confidence and all. So when the self-image is very low, the person can feel very worthless. Okay, a person can feel very worthless, and there can be many reasons to it. One of the reasons could be the family situation that the person has been grown up. We need to consider the childhood issues, the person's relationship with his parents, and also after that we need to consider whether any other reactive problems are there, any other external triggers are there, like any relationship issues. Like these days we can see that people are like in college, and students also, they are in love, they are have relations, but then they're all troubled relationships. So we need to understand if there are any external triggers which are forcing that person to feel worthless, or is the person a victim of constant criticism by, it could be teachers, it could be parents, it could be the friends. Are they criticizing him too much for him to feel worthless? So we need to first identify the external triggers. At the same time, sometimes without any external triggers also, there can be endogenous depression where a person without any reason also can feel worthless. So depression is a medical disorder, and we diagnose it with these three cardinal symptoms of feeling low and loss of interest in activities, low energy, lack of sleep, feeling of hopelessness, worthlessness. Okay, and also a lot of guilt feelings can be there, low energy levels. And the duration is very important. If anything is more than 2 weeks duration only, we term it as a depressive disorder. And the treatment goes by the severity of it. There could be mild, moderate, severe. So mild depressive symptoms, having mild feelings of worthlessness, the person can benefit by psychotherapy. Psychotherapy is nothing but talking therapy sessions with the psychologists. Mostly the psychologists will be doing the psychotherapy sessions. So we have something called as CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, where they can talk to the person and they can get benefited. Sometimes even talking to the friends also helps a lot. Talking to friends about what problems are triggering and any other medical issues that the person has. Sometimes very low vitamin levels, vitamin B12 levels, any thyroid problem also can cause depressive symptoms. So we need to identify the medical causes also which are causing depression. Second thing, if the severity is little bit moderate or severe, along with talk sessions, we also add in antidepressant medications. and no need to be stigmatized by using medications. If it is really required, that really helps a lot, and they are not addictive pills, antidepressants.
So we can say that one should have more of a self-esteem to be more feel like worthy, right?
Yes, yes. See, this all no will be fulfilled. That's why I put this pyramid also. They all will be fulfilled when the basic needs are fulfilled. So basic needs like sleep and proper financial security, when you have friendships, when your family relations are very good, when your attachment with your parents, with your first family members are your parents, siblings, when these attachments are very secure, then your feeling, your self image, self esteem automatically becomes normal. When there is a problem there, and when that is not addressed, it is difficult to address the other issues, because that is the higher pyramid, higher needs they are. Okay, only when the lower needs are fulfilled, the higher needs we can concentrate on.
Okay, ma'am. So we have the next question. It's how do I stop stressing about things I cannot control, such as politics?
Around this age group, what I have told, there is something called as identity formation versus role confusion. Okay, this is the psychosocial development of an individual, how it goes. So, in adolescent age groups, or around 22, 23 years of age, till that time, till that 20 years of age group, the identity formation will be mostly by their gender identity, it can be by identity with religion, identity with politics. So with this, the identity formation is mostly formed because they relate. This is the time when the individual tries to relate themselves to a particular group. And these days, if we see, there are different groups, different religious groups, different political groups. So we want to fit in some group, okay, for our identity to be formed, so that there is no role confusion. That is in general. But then anything should be in moderation. Anything in life, if it extends it, if it is goes beyond the moderation, and if anything excess we are doing, then the problem arises. Okay, preoccupation mostly dealing only with that thing, whether it's really important for you or not, whether your other needs and your other responsibilities you are doing, or you're only controlling on that. So first you need to identify, are there any triggers, like are there any friends groups in your surrounding who are trying to pull you towards certain groups. So you need to identify the factors which are pulling you to that group, which might not be very helpful to you. And another thing is mobile phone. When you keep on scrolling the social pages and all that, these days news is a very common thing. Debates are very common thing. News hour, political debates. So are you spending more time on your mobile phones and then preoccupied with this political also? You need to identify. See, everything is in your hands only. So you have to hold responsibility for the preoccupations that you are having. So first try to cut down on all those activities which are increasing your preoccupation. Okay, and if still it is not getting controlled, then that means sometimes some people can have obsessions, repeated thinkings or compulsive behaviors, repeatedly doing certain things. Then maybe we need to deal it separately by a professional. But initially though, you need to cut down mostly on this watching TV, your news hours and all that.
And ma'am, the third one we have, how do I constantly stop worrying about what people think about me?
Yeah. So this is again, see, we all, as we grow up, we all have some core beliefs. Core beliefs are some beliefs which are, fixed in us. Like some people are very confident about their looks. Some people are not that much. Some people always keep thinking about what the other person is thinking about me. So one of the common thought error that we all will be having that, not that only some individuals have, is called mind reading. So when we go and meet some other person, let me say if I am there and I am meeting you, so I might first, what some automatic thought will come into me. I might think that, okay, what are you thinking about me? Some people are very conscious of their dressing or very conscious of how they look. So immediately whenever they meet any person, they will, if they have a negative thing about this mind reading, they will immediately think, okay, maybe I'm not dressed well, maybe I don't look well, that's why the person is thinking looking at me like this, even though the person genuinely is not looking like that. But always the concern or the thing is they are preoccupied with what the other person is thinking about me. Okay, and most of the times there is no proof for it. This mind reading just happens, there's no proof for it. So we try to challenge that particular thought by asking the person first, did that person really come and tell you that you don't look good? No, if that didn't happen, then it is just an imagination for you. You shouldn't be even thinking about it. So always you need to immediately challenge the thought whether it really happened or not. Whether, see, what the other person is thinking of me, did the person tell you? Only it makes sense when the person tells you something. Okay, what I'm thinking inside is actually none of anyone's business. Only if the person comes and tells you that, okay, you're this, you're that, then maybe you can communicate. But without any communication, just by looks, just by thinking what they might be thinking, I think that is only dragging you down, lowering your self-confidence. So always only when there is a proof to say that the person has thought bad about you, you need to worry. Otherwise, please don't worry.
The next question is quite practical one, and it's people talk about taking a social break, but how am I supposed to do that when we have classes, assignments, projects going on at all the time?
Social media. See, like I have told earlier only, the control, we are not like 2 year or 3 year old kids, right? See, 2 year, 3 year kids, if they are too much into iPads and all, we ask them, we take the phone away, we keep it there and all, we do all that forceful thing. But in a particular age, between 10 to, let us say, 20, 25, 30 years also, mostly it is self-discipline only which works. Self-discipline, self-care, you need to set your priorities. What is more important? Okay, how am I going to control restricting my phone? You need to set a particular time to check your this. There are some I think settings also in your phone where you can take away the notifications. Otherwise, every time some sound will come, notification will come, you have to keep checking your WhatsApp, you need to keep checking the latest. Even though no one has posted anything on Facebook, you keep on scrolling. So maybe take out that app icon from your home screen. You need to do, I think you're all technical people, so you need to do some things, change the settings so that apps and all are not on your home screen. And you need to set up a particular time on your day, maybe some half an hour, or maybe you check, and that is your entertainment time you can take. But always you that habit, it's like an obsession. It has become like a compulsive behavior for people, that because it has become a part and parcel of our life now, everything is on the phone only, even payments or everything you are just ordering on phone, buying, shopping. So it has become like an addiction. So self-discipline is very important here. We need to keep a time, and I think we need to make some settings change in your phone and try to restrict it.
Okay, ma'am. The next is it possible that someone is addicted to being sad? Like they intentionally think about the bad things they have been through and keep spoiling their mood for no reason?
Yeah. See, this is what is called as rumination. What you have told is not actually intentionally being sad. See, no one wants to be sad. Everyone wants to get out of that sadness. But unfortunately, all human emotions we need to experience. Once we are in this world, we cannot just experience happiness, right? So, all kinds of human emotions will be there. We get anxious, we get sad. But at times, what happens is for some people, the ruminations is more. Ruminations means thinking about a particular past event which keeps on repeating in their mind again and again. They cannot forget that, and they experience the same kind of sadness with the event which has occurred earlier. That particular memory, whenever they remember that memory, that particular center of the brain, it again that emotion is again raised, that emotion of sadness is again raised. So they are stuck somewhere in the past, which is a very common symptom in depression. Mostly in depressive individuals it happens. They keep ruminating about the past and they become sad. So here we need to treat the depression aspect of it.
Ma'am, the next question is it's a situation first. There is a friend of mine. He told me that since a few days he's constantly overthinking about everything, and
Okay.
while in that condition he can't concentrate. The problem is he's not comfortable in sharing his problem with anyone except
Hmm.
the person.
Except that
And
person.
I really want to help, but don't know what to do.
Yeah. So here it's a very good thing that this person is actually being very kind. Let us say that he has put forth this question of his friend suffering. It is a kind act on his part. Hmm? So at times, most of the times, what happens? The individual who is suffering with depression or who is having very, negative thoughts about himself will not per se come out and talk to any person. Asking for help is actually a very big thing, and mostly if we see when compared to women and men, I don't know who has asked this question, but in females mostly they keep talking about their problem, but men usually don't share their problems. They hardly share their problems with their very close friends and all. So the venting out is very important here. Talking to someone is very important. But like I said, during depressive illness, that talking communication becomes less. They become isolated. They do not want to share. So at that particular point, our responsibility is the friends who are surrounding him should identify any sudden change in a particular person's behavior. Just like this friend of his has shared, even if he's not sharing also, this friend, if he observes any change, like he's talking, he's negative, he's not eating properly, he's not coming out, there's a change in his behavior, then he should himself voluntarily ask him what has happened. Okay, after everything, after the sharing happens, the first thing is, like I said, we need to see the hierarchy of where and whom to meet. If we feel that the problem is too much, immediately, like if the adolescent age group, the parents should be intimated. The parents should know what the child is going through. That is one thing. But if he's 18 plus and all, the person has 18 below, means the parents should be knowing 18 plus also. If they are having, let us say, self-harm ideas and suicidal ideas, the family should be intimated about it. Because immediate action by taking him to, see, we have different, one thing is we have in school counselors, we have, second thing is we have psychologists who do the therapy and the talking part, and then we have psychiatrists who are medical doctors and who prescribe medications and also do therapy to lessen the problem that the individual is facing. So what your friend can do is, he can take, what you can do is you can take your friend first to the immediate school counselor, who can direct to a psychologist or psychiatrist based on the severity of your friend's symptoms. And if you feel he is having self-harm ideas, or then you have to intimate the parents as well, the family as well. Another very important thing is, almost 30% we are seeing prevalence of substance abuse. Substance abuse is a very common thing which can increase these mood symptoms. Most commonly, we see alcohol, smoking, cannabis smoking. So you also need to identify if the person is abusing these drugs or not. Because if that is the case, then that thing should be removed and the de-addiction should be done first, because they are very notorious to cause psychological issues.
Ma'am, the next question is, how should I cope up with the pressure my parents put on me related to career and all?
Okay. In India, I think it is a very common thing that parents have high expectations for their child. They want the child and they keep comparing also. We always tell the parents the one thing: if the child is, parents get a small child, let us say, with a problem that he's not improving or is doing something, we always don't counsel the child. We mostly tell the parents, okay, maybe to lesser your expectations. The child will do based upon the capacity. The child can adapt based. We cannot force anyone. But we cannot just that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do hard work and all, but then beyond your capacity, if you're not able to do, you need to communicate it openly with your parents that this is what is happening. See, I cannot do beyond. There are many people who, with so much of pressures and all, they have had mood changes, and some people, they have also attempted, suicide after they have failed in the examinations, thinking what the parents might be doing. They are so fearful of, parents. So not all parents, but yeah, some of the parents do have a lot of expectations on the child, which unfortunately, if they will change their behavior, many things can fall in place. But trying to get them in the best possible, educational institution, a lot of competition, these competitive examinations and all. We see before competitive examinations, there's a lot of stress for the students, and even this 1 mark, 2 marks also makes so much difference. So what the student can tell is openly communicate with the parents. If still the parents are not, they have to go talk to a friend or some other relative of theirs who is very close to them. So some kind of communication should happen, wherein the person should tell what they really feel. If they're really stressed out, they should communicate it to them.
Ma'am, the next question is, how do I control overthinking?
Overthinking is again part of depression. It could be a part of an obsession also. Obsession means repeatedly thinking about one thing again and again. It's an anxiety disorder also, we can say. We think a lot. So it is a generalized question, but we need to first identify what is causing that overthinking, whether it is again from many years together or it is a sudden onset. The treatment varies depending on that also, because some people's personality only, they think a lot. See, personality is something like your height and your physical features, it's more or less the same. So some are like extroverts, they don't care, they don't think much, they're carefree. But some people, if we see, they're very, very careful. Harm avoidance, we call. They don't do the risk taking. They think a lot and then they take the next step. So there are positives and negatives for these two personalities. So, but anything going overboard, like you're very careful, but because of overthinking, you're not able to take any decision making is getting delayed, and you keep on days together, you keep on thinking and your work is not done, then it is a problem. Then you need to focus more on physical activity. So when thinking happens, mostly thinking happens when the person is alone, or no one is there, isolated. So the best possible thing is some physical activity should happen. Either you can do some household chores like cleaning activities. When some thought comes and repeatedly it is going on and on, you can remove from your almara all your clothes and you can refold them and keep it. Do some mopping, sweeping activity. Currently in this lockdown is the only thing that you can do, household chores. Going out, some physical activity you can do, some yoga exercises, little bit of running, jogging. So they have a lot of, when a person is physically active, the brain gets automatically distracted and some chemicals are also released which reduce the stress.
With stress, ma'am, there's one more question that how can we control or prevent panic attacks?
Yeah. So panic attack, let me tell you first what are the physical symptoms which can happen in panic attacks. Panic attacks is nothing but it's a part of anxiety disorder. Anxiety disorder, there can be physical symptoms. Why means the autonomic nervous system in the body gets activated. So from head to toe, we have different kinds of symptoms. There can be headache, there can be feeling dizzy, and maybe also sometimes the vision also gets blurred. Then sometimes there can be tightness of the muscles. There can be dry mouth. You can feel choking sensation. You can feel nauseatic sensation, and then you can feel chest tightness. And most common is palpitations. That is the heart fast beating. You're feeling your own heart, beating very fast. And then there can be some butterfly sensation in the stomach. And some people have to also go and pass motion also in these anxiety panic symptoms. Hands can become very cold. There can be sweating. There can be tremors or shaking of the hands. So all these are some symptoms of panic attacks. Not everyone will get all the symptoms, but these are the most common symptoms. And for a severe panic attack, the person can feel impending doom, is what we call. Impending doom means the person will feel as if he's going to collapse and he's going to die off. Sometimes some people get this. We need to first identify any trigger factors are there or not, because for some there can be specific anxiety disorder, we call it. They can have panic attacks during specific situations. Is it in social situations they are getting, in front of an audience? Second thing, is it in traffic they can get, when there are a lot of people, lot of crowd, where escape is not possible, those situations they can get. In elevators, lifts, they can be getting. Sometimes when they're all alone they can be getting. So we need to see whether any specific situations are causing it or not and identify it. Completely avoiding those situations is not possible. So here also, based on the situation, we do therapy. Psychotherapy helps a lot. Here the psychologist deals with identify the fear causing stimuli and trying to slowly, exposing them to less fear causing to more fear causing, and teaching them some relaxation exercises and progressive muscle relaxation exercises, what we call, so that the body slowly automatically can come down to normal. But even then, if it is not getting controlled, then we also, like I have said previously, we have to see any medical disorders. Most common is thyroid and all can cause anxiety disorders. Any hypothyroidism is there, any elevated sugar levels are there, low vitamin B12 and D levels also can increase anxiety. So we need to also get these blood investigations done. And if still everything is normal, then definitely when sleep is affected and it is causing very problem, we again put these SSRI medications, okay, because a neurochemical called serotonin becomes low in these individuals with frequent panic attacks. So we try to compensate that, and there is also medical treatment for it.
The next one is how to calm your mind by getting rid of all the thoughts and worries before going to sleep.
Hmm. See, this is very thing. First is don't stimulate your mind too much. The notorious stimulator is mobile phone again. So ideally, before going to sleep, the sleep timings also have changed so much. Earlier, people used to have dinner at 7 o'clock, sleep at 8 and 9 o'clock. That is many years back. Now it is like when I ask someone, like take it after dinner, particular medication, let us say, I ask them later after the next visit and all. I ask them, when did you like? What time are you taking the medication? They say 10:30. 10:30 is my dinner time, so I take the medication at 10:30. No, that's not how it is. See, our body follows a natural mechanism, wherein some chemicals are also released, good chemicals. Some chemicals in the night time and some in the daytime. So we need to give the body rest. Night time, when sun is not there and the moon is there, when there is darkness, our we should slowly, try to. We cannot activate our mind by keep on checking mobile phones, doing some exercises. So better thing is don't do too much of strenuous exercises in the night, like late evening time, and an hour before the bedtime, around 9 o'clock or so. Just don't, keep on browsing your mobile phones. Reduce your coffees and tea intake in the night time. Okay, and try to read a book with a low print, with a small print book. You can start reading on your sofa. Don't go to the bed if you're overthinking. If you're thinking too much, if thoughts are not going, don't go to the bed. Bed is only when you're sleepy, then you have to go and retire on the bed, how much ever time it is. So try these basic sleep hygiene measures which can reduce your thinking in the evening times. Talk to someone if it is helping. Also talk to someone on phone, and then whenever you're feeling sleepy after reading the book or something, then you can go bed. On the bed you don't do any project works and all these activities, you don't do. Then whenever you're on the bed, you won't be able to sleep. Before sleeping, only the thoughts keep on coming, next day what project to be submitted and all that. So please give more importance to your sleep.
Thank you, ma'am. The next one is how do we get away from the imposter syndrome kind of thinking?
Okay, so that is maybe your self-worth. You're not, you don't have, that lack of self-worth could be what he must be asking. You always try to demean yourself, try to, pull yourself down or think yourself to be, kind of negative. So these are all again, from childhood, the personality, how it is developed. We need to see if there was any abusive relationship, any abuse. It could be verbal abuse. If the child or if the person has listened to always negative. See, we are what we actually hear or we see. That is what we are, our personalities. So first we need to always, than trying to run and find the solutions for it, we also have to identify what caused it. So why is that person even thinking like that? Is there any person who has repeatedly told the person that the person is not worthy, or the person has experienced many failures in life? How is it? Why that particular feeling is developed in the person is what first we need to identify. And then we need to remove the stresses which could be around them. People who are maybe having disruptive relationships and all, and always thinking like that. So we can focus on that, trying to mend those relationships also. And still, we talked about, in depression also there will be a lot of self-worth. See, depression is very underdiagnosed, very underdiagnosed, because we think it is just a stress. We keep on telling it is stress. But the symptoms that I told earlier, if the duration is more than 2 weeks and repeatedly if the person is thinking that they are not self-worthy, they need to get evaluated for depression and get treated for it.
Thank you. Ma'am, the next is how can we limit the extent of introspection we do? Sometimes we get obsessed with introspection and start to overthink a lot, even for simple things. And how can we avoid that?
Yeah, this is again, I think it is a repeat question only. Like they are trying to overthink. Again, it is like overthinking. You are doubting yourself. your self-worth, you're again thinking again and again whether what I'm doing is right or what I'm doing is wrong. Here the decision making is lacking, and there is a particular personality where the person always what we call as dependent personality traits. They always rely on other person's decisions, or they keep on always asking whether what I'm doing is wrong or not. They are not very confident of what they're doing, because here they fear that if something goes wrong, it would be because of their decision. So they cannot take failures. Here the person is seeing everything in black and white. Either, okay, a lot of introspection means either if I do this particular step, if something black happens or something wrong happens, it is wrong. Or they just think, or I should be either successful or I should be either not a failure. So here what we have to understand is, we human beings have to accept gray shades also. We need to accept that there is no black and white. That black and white thinking is a thought error. We need to come out of it. We need to be accepting that we can also make mistakes. We need to just go ahead with, at that particular time, what is the best possible decision we can take. We need to go ahead and accepting gray shades, learn from mistake and go ahead. We cannot just wait for that perfect moment and that perfect decision by overthinking. We need to act. Acting should happen here than thinking. So that first step should be taken.
Ma'am, the next is that people usually say that we should forget past and move on, but forgetting past is not that easy because our actions are inspired from our experiences. So is there any way that people can move ahead without getting affected by the past of people?
Yes. See, here again, it is about accepting people as they are and accepting our past, our present as we are. Again, it comes to the gray shades part of it. Everyone will have some gray shades in the past, in the present, in the future also. Yes, ups and downs will keep on happening. So there is no person with only ups. So when we think about the past, definitely there will be some downs, when people must have criticized us, or when there was some betrayal which happened, some relationship breakup which happened, some moment in our life where we were not happy. Okay, it was like a very big challenge for us. It is not easy to forget. We can forget. It's not easy means what, our brain will store these memories, no, because it had an impact on our life. So we cannot just remove it, and forget it and erase it. But the thing is, we shouldn't also be stuck, there. We need to move ahead, and that moving ahead is a very, very stressful phase. But time is again a big healer. Many individuals we have seen that as years and months pass by, slowly, the intensity of that emotions will go off. We should also give time, some kind of a thing, because as time passes, but definitely the healing happens. But if with time also the healing is not happening, means you require professional help again here, which should be emphasized. Or you need to talk to your friends first. Immediately you can talk to your friend about it. This is happening, I'm not able to move ahead, and all these symptoms are happening. So many 2 years passed by that has happened, but still I'm stuck there. Then your friend might suggest some activities or reassure you, encourage you. Still it is not working on, then you have to go and seek for other professional helps.
Okay, ma'am. How to work on constant procrastinating, feeling low, and not really doing anything?
How to avoid procrastination?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So here again, I think it is a very common thing that people, if something is not very urgent, like if, let us say there is a deadline for a project, after 1 week the deadline is there. Okay, there are 7 days, so it is normal for our body to relax, because it is not tomorrow, right? So we will do it, the project work, 3 days it can be finished. We write in everything, that 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour, 3 hours it can be finished. That is, even one day we can finish. So let us relax. So this particular thing of relaxing now and working hard later is a very common thing that our body has, because body immediately doesn't want to work, body wants to always relax. So with experience we need to learn that though it is a very time consuming thing, though now we are not relaxing and enjoying, you need to work hard. So working hard is only the basic principle here, nothing else. So you need to work hard and get it done. Even though you need to set a deadline for yourself, again self discipline here for yourself. You need, no one is going to see after a particular age, no one will come and push you, no one will come and push us. When we were children, our parents used to ask, khana khaya hai, you have eaten this, that, and all. But after a particular while, it is up to us to take care of our body. We shouldn't put the blame on anyone else for anything. You know, we are only ourselves to be blamed for. So if you are procrastinating, even upon knowing that you're procrastinating, it is your mistake. So we are when our physically we are all okay and we can do everything, I think we need to prioritize the things and get it done, and set up a self discipline and note in the calendar and get that thing done.
Ma'am, the next is I get very depressing dreams, 2 to 3 dreams every time I sleep, and it makes it hard to stay positive after that.
Okay.
So how can I deal with that?
Yes, so mostly the person here is experiencing what we call as could be nightmares or a disturbed sleep. There can be many reasons why a disturbed sleep happens. So sleep should be very a person ideally should be getting 6 to 8 hours of good sleep without nightmares, and morning when you wake up it should be like a refreshed feeling for us. That means the person is physically mentally healthy. Okay, so sleep is a very sensitive indicator to say that things are not going on properly with your body or with your mind. Okay, so the content of the dream we can keep it aside, but the dream, that whatever content is there which is troubling that person, indicates that that person is having some changes in their mood. Okay, they are not completely, something is, stuck somewhere. Either the person has not talked about his problem to someone, that particular resolution. Sometimes, any loss or a grief also doesn't get resolved. So we need to also see whether there was any loss, any grief, or any problem which didn't get resolved. So it keeps on coming as nightmares to us, as sleep disturbances to us. So here again, talking should be helping, and identification what happened in the past which has not been resolved yet.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, the next is how to deal with the stress of being in a group project or team wherein most of the work falls on you, especially when submissions and everything are nearby.
Hmm. See here, when you're in a group and you're doing some submissions, why is all the work only falling on you? Maybe you're taking up all the work, maybe you are not able to say, how to say no is also something that we need to learn. So most of some people, they have this what we can say is the disease to please. They want to please everyone, they want to please their friends, they want to please their higher officials, their teachers, while submitting assignments. Kia, all the work I have done and all that. So this thing you need to somewhere step down and distribute all the activity to others and tell them. You have to be very assertive and say no, this is only what I'll be able to do, rest all you have to do. This is a teamwork, everyone should be sharing it. If you're taking it all to yourself, that means the mistake actually lies in you. You're taking in too much, you're not able to say no. So here actually learn to say no, and try to do the sharing in the teamwork. That is important.
Uh, Ma'am, the next is what should be the ideal time to sleep and wake up?
You should be telling me that. What is the ideal time?
It's
I think
quite topic.
the sun and moon will be telling us, what is the ideal time. Hmm? So when there is darkness, and maybe 9 to 10 around that time is the sleeping time. Post midnight, around midnight is not actually the sleeping time. So, and ideally maybe 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, you need to wake up, which is a very good time. Your energy levels are high then, because our hormones also act in that way only. So daytime is not the sleeping time, nighttime is the sleeping time. And you all know what is the night time. Midnight is not night time to sleep.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, the next one is it's quite advising type.
It will
Uh,
be.
the the question is gender neutral, and it's about love that I like someone whom I met online.
Mhm.
After the lockdown, I want to convey my feelings. Right now,
Okay.
we are just friends, but I can't stop thinking about this person, and this is affecting my studies and everything.
Okay.
What if
Mhm.
after the lockdown, I am rejected, sorry, and how to deal with such feelings? Any advice for this?
Yeah. So here, did that person were they already in a relationship, or the person wants to propose? What is it?
The person wants to propose.
And
But
what is pulling him back is the lockdown.
yes, ma'am. He or she
Not,
wants to convey
uh,
whatever or to whomsoever after the
hmm.
lockdown.
Okay, yeah. So here it is all about, lockdown or no lockdown, but about conveying the feelings and the fear of rejection. Is it right? Hmm?
Yes, ma'am. It's about
Yeah,
rejection.
rejection. Yeah. See, this is, I think it is a universal thing, that question what that person has asked. And this is the age that there will be a lot of hormonal changes and a lot of attractions happen. And these online attractions, this online, but we need to be very wary when online. We have seen so many people falling into, praise of people who are identity, they keep another identity and they keep chatting with that person and they get cheated. So completely relying only on the online identity is actually, online identity and proposing might not be the best idea. Only I would suggest to anyone, only when you personally in person know someone properly for a period of time, then your feelings maybe you can convey to them genuinely. But only after meeting online, I think you need to be wary, check the identity and all that, because there have been many incidents which has happened. And even when you have proposed, let us say in person, you know that person and you propose, so there is no guarantee that the person is going to accept. There can be rejection as well, because each and every person will have their likes and dislikes. Just because you like that person and you have genuine feelings doesn't mean that person also should have. So here there is an expectation frustration cycle. You expect that the person should love you just as much as you love you, the percentage, but it doesn't happen that way. Human emotions, they don't carry. And I think as age passes by, you will understand that. But then that frustration will lead to irritation, anger, and all that, depression. Some can just get very depressed, some can get very angry on that person who has rejected. But we need to one thing is, we need to accept the other person's opinion, we need to respect the other person's feelings and opinion. We cannot force anyone to like any person at this point of time. If you feel very depressed and isolated, but communication, you can communicate your feelings, but not completely relying on the online identity only. In-person friendships and all, also you need to know that person properly, then only it is advisable. Maybe you can communicate your feelings and all. But if it doesn't happen also, you need to talk to your friends about it. And do not resort to substance abuse or any drugs if any rejections happen. Talk to your friends, resolve your emotional issues. If you're close to your parents, talk to your parents as well. But gracefully accepting rejections also, we need to learn, because in life as we progress there will be many rejections. Let us be job interview rejections, and there can be so many. So I think this is the first step. If any person would be rejecting us, but that which is not in our hands. What is in our hands is trying to just control emotions and trying to respect the other person's opinion as well. Let me say, every person, no person is irreplaceable. As kids, as infants, when our mother is there, what the infant feels is, without mother there is no world, my whole world is mother only. But as the infant grows into a child, into teenager and all, oh, without mother also they keep going to camps, night outs and all the activities they do. So here mother herself, has replaced, so many other things. So many other things have replaced mother itself. So just like that, if any relationship doesn't work out also, it is replaceable. It's just a matter of time that you need to stay strong and take help from other people to get out of that sadness and all. But life doesn't end there.
Ma'am, the next is how can we prevent feeling of constant emptiness?
This constant emptiness can happen in mostly two situations, we can say. There is one personality problem individuals, what we call as emotionally unstable personality traits, or borderline personality traits we call them. They always have an empty self image, lot of emptiness. There are no feelings, some numbness kind of. And in them there can be impulsive behavior also at times. Suddenly, because of that emptiness, they don't know how to do the problem solving, and there can be impulsive behaviors. So this emptiness could be an indication of a personality problem. It could be an indication of depression as well. Again, here it's a very common thing. In depression, person can feel emotionally numb and empty inside, no feelings. So to get to get over it, first thing is talking about the problem to someone. Second thing, do some physical activity. Always I'm emphasizing on this physical activity, because the more you do with your hands and your body than sitting and only thinking and only worrying about why I am having, emptiness, how to go about it. So first, if you're not able to find a solution by yourself, try to ask for help and try to ask someone to find some solution for you. Definitely the solution will be there somewhere. It's not like completely cannot be resolved. If it's a personality issue, we can do therapies, and if it is a depression also, we can treat it. If there is something else which is happening, the talking actually is the best form of therapy. So first try, if you're not finding solutions, please talk to someone.
Ma'am, regarding the last question, that was Simple Life, the one Simple Life pointed out. Tomorrow we'll be posting a post regarding rejection, as in how to face rejection. So I would request all the participants and the audience to follow the social handle of Prakriti MSIT, and we can connect with you, with all the audience, more from there. And the next one, ma'am, question is, what is the best way to increase the determination level?
If I have everything at my disposal, so if I have, let us say my mom is getting me everything to my table, so I will never want to go out and look for food. I will never want to go out and cook for food. I will not have that motivation at all. So to increase our determination, first thing is that need should be there, want should be there in that person, motivation should be there. You should not identify, okay, my parents are there or everything is set. No, for you, you have to create an identity for yourself so that tomorrow people will respect you. So that zeal and that motivation should be there. First thing, that need to be recognized, to be appreciated by people should be there within. You need to strike that thing. Okay, you cannot always be dependent on others. So when that need for appreciation comes, automatically the determination and everything, you will find ways how to do it. So that discipline also will come. How to reach my goal? You need to plan for short-term goals and long-term goals. After 5 years, after 2 years, how you want to see yourself? Okay, what courses you want to do, what jobs you want to. Now the short term goals mean this 1 month, what should I do to reach that particular thing. So all these some time oriented focused goal making and planning should be there, and it should be stuck somewhere, written on your walls or in your rooms, so that daily you see it and you are motivated enough.
Ma'am, we have one more. Whenever I hear someone shout at me or at anyone, I start crying whether I know any of them or not. Like if a teacher shouts at some student in class, if it affects me, I don't understand this. How can I control this?
Yes. See, one thing is, here it is a problem just in the behavior, but not in the emotion, let me say. Because it's not a very positive thing for anyone to hear someone being shouted at, right? If someone is shouting at me, it's not a happy feeling that I'm going to laugh and be happy. If someone is shouting and I'm being happy, means there's something abnormal with me. If I'm feeling sad, means I understand that person is not happy with me and I something wrong if I have done, or unnecessarily if someone is shouting at us if I have not done anything wrong. First thing is, you need to try to explain explain that person, or ask that person, question that person why they're unnecessarily shouting. But this behavior of crying means, see, we all go through these development stages. So the defense mechanism, when the body gets very anxious, some immature defense mechanisms will be there. Most common is crying. Just like an infant or a child, let us say, wants something, or someone, the parent shouts at that infant or child, because the communication skill is not proper for that infant. The immediate thing what they do is they keep crying, because it's a very sad feeling for them to be shouted at. So some people, somewhere, these immature defense mechanisms stay even in the adulthood also, because they don't know how to reduce that anxiety they are getting when someone is shouting at them. So immediately that crying behavior is happening. So first you need to identify how you can reduce that behavior of fear. yours, because you already know that you cry. Maybe that starting moment only, you need to start communicating with that person, or you need to give it some time, get away from that place, let us say, because when you are in that place, the emotional intensity will be more. So we can get away from that place, let the body calm down for some 5 or 10 minutes. You can do some deep breathing exercises, breathe in, breathe out, or count numbers, 1 to 100. Some mental activity you have to do, either some breathing or counting activity, and then again come and resolve the misunderstanding, what happened, why the person shouted. So if that thing is the communication happens with that person, with the authority figure who has shouted at you, you will feel much better, more relaxed.
Ma'am, I have one more question.
Yeah.
It's I tend to be very emotional every time any situation occurs. Is
Hmm.
it that I am emotionally weak or something?
See, one thing tend to be emotionally what? They tend to be?
Emotionally weak.
No, prior to that, what did you say?
Uh, it is I tend to be very emotional every time any situation occurs.
Hmm.
So is it that I am emotionally weak?
See, one thing is being emotional or being sensitive doesn't count as weakness. Okay, so most of the people also, they see that, oh, you're being very emotional. Be just grow up, or chill out, come out, be normal. No, it doesn't happen that way. We human beings react to situations, and with some emotions, we do react with some emotions. It could be sadness, it could be feeling low, it could be, but we also need to see that how long we are being like that. Half an hour, see, someone has told something, half an hour or 45 minutes, I can be little bit half an hour or 45 minutes, I can be little bit low, but after that I need to try to modify my emotions. But if that is not happening, means you need to take help, but that doesn't mean that you're weak completely. This weakness kind of a thing we need to remove from our minds. It's a problem that you're having, maybe try to resolve it by asking for help.
Okay, ma'am. So we have the last question for the event.
Yes.
It's whenever there's a fight or anything like that, and I didn't do any mistake in that, but still I'm sorry always, and I'm not able to express my feelings, and I take it on all on myself, and it hurts a lot to me. It's like I don't understand my own self, and I know that I should tell that other person, but still I'm not able to. There's a lot of confusion always in my head, and I overthink a lot. I think I should not, and then I get anxiety attacks, and I'm cold.
Yeah. So here the whole thing is starting with you taking up the blame, on yourself too much, though it is not your mistake. So just to resolve the conflict, but that is what is causing all the consequences of the actions, because you have taken up the blame on yourself, and then you're feeling sorry that why I did and why this thing is happening every time. You feel sorry for yourself. Here the whole thing is you're feeling bad for yourself, you're sympathizing with yourself, and then you are regretting that act that you have done of taking the blame on you, and you are having anxiety symptoms. First thing is stop taking the blame. Okay, just to appease a relationship, always you needn't take the blame. That means that relationship is an abusive relationship, what you are in, when you're always taking the blame on yourself. In a very healthy relationship or a normal relationship, you need to both sides should take in responsibility, or accept their mistakes. Always it can't, the blaming game cannot happen, and always you can't take blame on yourself. So you have to stop doing that first.
Ma'am, it's like one more additional to this. It's not about relationship, and I just can't control myself.
What is that? I didn't understand it.
It's in continuation to the last one.
Yes, yes. It's not in just a relationship, but in general is what the
Yes,
person is
ma'am.
doing. Okay, in general also, what are you like trying to take blame and trying to feel that you have done? It's all what we can call is self pity. You're pitying too much about yourself. Okay, you're always trying to think that you are the cause of any particular problem or anything. So we need to come out of it. We need to come out of that self pity. Okay. And also the thing is here, personality plays a major role. We need to first identify if there are any personality related problems for that particular person. Is it from childhood that person is this? If any parental conflict is there or any issues. So it's a generalized question, but only when we get the complete history, we can do a proper treatment for it.
I think that will conclude the question, and I would like to say thank you, ma'am, for this amazing session. This was absolutely insightful for us, and I hope a lot of participants felt lighter after talking about the issues.
Yes, and
Uh,
I also wish all of them, for you enact things, and if you are kind and if you are considerate to each other and keep talking about it and do more of awareness, sessions and spread awareness, I think the next generation is going to be quite insightful about their problems, and the mental health issues also are going to be resolved. Thank you.
uh, Ma'am, one more thing.
Yeah.
Asking for help shouldn't be shameful, and that has been the main takeaway from this session.